Today I want to focus on some tiny microphones that can make a big impact to the quality of your audio. Affordable 2.4 gigahertz wireless systems aren't anything new. They've been around for a number of years at this point. They're pretty awesome overall. Even though the transmitters of most 2.4 gigahertz systems are relatively compact, they can still be kind of large and in charge sometimes. And so if you pin this or magnetically clip it to a shirt, it can start stretching, it can start pulling, they can be distracting in the frame. The new world of ultra compact wireless microphones and transmitters makes them super discreet and way more user-friendly. But there are a few different reasons I chose these three microphones to compare. One is that they are the ones that I own, so that made it easy. I did pay for the Hollyland and the DJI myself, and then Rode did send the wireless micro, but I'm under no obligation to say anything, do anything, or make a video about it at all, and you'll definitely see my honest opinions about all of these as we kind of go through some of their strengths and their weaknesses. Overall though, I do think that each of these is a really great system. So if you only have one, especially if you don't have a microphone at all, you're using a built-in microphone or you don't have any kind of portable system and you get any of these, you're going to instantly level up the quality of your audio and you're going to be happy with any of them. But they do have different features, strengths, overall value propositions, I guess you could say. That sounds very businessy, that do make some of them maybe a better fit than others for certain people in certain workflows. The Hollyland Lark was really the first to kind of go into the ultra compact direction. And it's one of my favorite microphones, even though it's not necessarily the best sounding wireless microphone system that I own. Since I've got this, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago, it has been my most used wireless mic system because it's just so easy. And it comes with everything you need to use it with a camera, a phone, or a computer, at least the version I did. And the price is really good. But because the Hollyland was so successful, other companies obviously realized there's a huge market for tiny microphones. And then we have the Rode and the DJI, which I wanted to compare those because Rode and DJI, with their bigger, smaller wireless microphones like the Rode Wireless Pro and the DJI Mic 2, those are pretty popular, high quality, good reputation microphone systems, so I wanted to see how their small, tiny microphone systems compare. Now I am using the Hollyland Lark M2 and not the M2S, which is a newer version. Those are two totally different products. The M2S doesn't replace the M2. The difference is that the M2, I can remember these product names, the M2 is this form factor. It's the small little button that you can have a magnet that you pin to your chest, or you can put a clip on it and clip it somewhere here. The M2S, which I don't have, has a different type of transmitter. It kind of looks like this, except it has what looks like a traditional lavalier mic as a clip on it. So what that means is this round part actually goes behind your clothing or your collar or whatever, and then just the tiny little lavalier mic part is what peeks over. So it's even smaller and more discreet and more compact than this is. The downside to that though is that it has to be clipped on something. So you lose this functionality of being able to just magnetically pin it everywhere, especially because typically positioning these in the middle of your chest is where they're going to sound the best. So only being able to clip a microphone somewhere sometimes is not really ideal, and I really love this, which is why I chose to stick with the M2 instead of getting the M2S. So the biggest core features that all of these systems have in common is that they have dual transmitters, and they do not have, because they're so tiny, they do not have any way to do internal recording. So you have to be transmitting to the receiver somewhere, and they also do not have a way to attach a separate microphone. So on all of the bigger 2.4 gigahertz systems that I have, they all have built-in 32-bit float recording, and they also all have a 3.5 millimeter input to connect a different microphone. So that means even if something like this Rode Wireless Pro, if this little transmitter is just too big to put anywhere, you can just put it in your pocket or clip it to your pants and then run the lavalier microphone or run a lavalier microphone up and be a lot more discreet with it. None of these have any of those options. You have to just use the built-in microphone on the transmitter. And if you've seen lately, I've made a few videos about different versions of these systems, and something I've done is I've always worn lightweight shirts in those videos so you can see how light these are, because even with a light t-shirt, they don't pull it or stretch it like some of the other bigger systems do. Today I wore kind of a heavier sweater just to show that the magnets are strong enough to go through heavier clothing as well. You don't have to only wear lightweight clothing, although I'm trying to make sure these things don't get in the way and cause any problems. And as we're talking about positioning, I do have these pinned in the middle of my chest because I feel like this is the most common place to put them. This is the DJI right now. If I were to pin this on my chest, this is what it would sound like up here. And as soon as I start putting a microphone up here, you can hear that it sounds a little bit muffled and a little bit strange because of just where it's located and how that works. And then of course, if I happen to just talk into the microphone right here, hopefully not making too many plosives, this is what it sounds like. Most of them are pretty much always going to sound the best like this, but it's not always the most convenient way to just hold the microphone like this. Same thing for the Hollyland, which you've been hearing at my chest. And if I were to clip this up here, this is what the Hollyland would sound like. And if I were to just hold it out in front, this is what the Hollyland Lark M2 sounds like. And finally, the Rode Wireless Micro on my chest where it's been the whole time, the Rode Wireless Micro pinned up here, and the Rode Wireless Micro out in front of me. This is where I feel like now it's really starting to sound like a Rode mic in a really good way. And this is how I was hoping the microphone would sound even when it was located not directly in front of my mouth, when it was pinned to like my chest or something. I was hoping it would have this level of sound quality because I do think that it is a really good sounding microphone overall. But before we jump into more in-depth comparisons between these microphones, I do also want to talk about something that's just as important as clean dialogue for your videos, the music that you choose for your video. So that's where today's sponsor, Artlist, comes into play. I've been using Artlist since 2017. It was actually the first money I ever invested into my channel, was an Artlist subscription. And their music library has songs and artists to cover pretty much everything you need for every type of project. Artlist search tools let you dial in exactly what you want by mood, instrument, tempo, even video theme. So that means finding the right track doesn't take forever. You can also favorite songs, you can build custom art boards for different projects, which kind of help you create and curate a vibe, and you can even download stems so you can tweak the mix to fit your video perfectly. So that means you'll be able to find pretty much whatever you're looking for, even if it's something super specific like cinematic hip hop with piano. Or if you're like me and you just want to search up some third wave ska music, Artlist still has you covered. And Artlist just launched a new feature to help you track trends for music. Because a lot of us, let's be honest, want to use songs from our favorite bands and artists in our videos, but that's really not practical or possible. So that's where royalty-free music comes into play, but sometimes you can struggle to find something that kind of feels like the song you want it to use. So now every paid Artlist plan lets you track trending songs on Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok, and then instantly finds a royalty-free match to that song. So for every trending song that Artlist is tracking, they will give you 10 recommendations from their library that will fit your project exactly how you want. You can also filter tracks by country, and of course, all of this is covered by your Artlist license, and the charts are updated weekly with new trending songs and new recommendations. So thank you again to Artlist for sponsoring this video and for all of your support over the years, and be sure to use the link in the description if you want 2 additional months off your Artlist subscription. Each of these 3 systems also have different configurations that you can buy, which kind of changes the price a little bit. The Hollyland, I got the all-out configuration that has everything you need to connect it to cameras, phones, and mobile devices. Basically, it comes with Lightning, USB-C, and a 3.5mm camera receiver, in addition to just a whole bunch of other accessories. The Hollyland comes with so many accessories. It's pretty awesome. Even the fact that you don't see the logo on it, because normally the transmitter has a Hollyland logo, it comes with stickers that you can put on these to make it more discreet if you want to. I got the white one. There's also a black version as well. The Rode Wireless Micro, I got the white one just because I liked it, but it also comes in black to be a little more discreet on most clothing if you want that. It comes in USB-C or Lightning. Currently, it does not have a receiver that lets you connect a 3.5mm output to a camera. So the Rode Wireless Micro is really intended specifically, at least currently, for mobile use, phones and tablets, computers, anything with USB-C or Lightning. I have the USB-C version. And the DJI Mic Mini also comes in a few different configurations, but I got the biggest configuration, which is most comparable to the Mic 2, which I already owned. And that means it comes with the USB-C connector and the receiver, the 3.5mm receiver to connect it to a camera as well. So the MSRP for these 3 systems in those configurations, knowing that pricing can change because things can be crazy sometimes. The DJI is currently the most expensive in the configuration that I have, with an MSRP of $169. The Rode Wireless Micro has an MSRP of $149, and the Hollyland Lark M2 has a new lower MSRP of $119. It used to be $179, and I think after all the competition came out, Hollyland was like, whoop, and they just lowered the MSRP to $119. So I actually did put a few different categories to rank these that I'll be going throughout this video. I want to rank them in first, second, third place based on what you get with the systems. I want to rank them first, second, third on the overall build quality, the overall sound quality, and then what I think is the overall value, because it changes every time in those categories, and I think that that's really interesting. But just to cover some other of the basic features, the Hollyland and the DJI both do have noise cancellation, which we will test out later. The Rode Wireless Micro does not have noise cancellation, but it is compatible with Rode Central, which is something you can get both on your phone or on your computer. Currently, it just lets you choose if you want stereo or split channels or mono channel for the different receivers. Do you want them to record separately left and right or merged all together? You can adjust the LED brightness, and you can adjust the output gain, low, medium, and high. You're currently listening to the Rode Wireless Micro on the high output gain, which is what it came with. And to me, this is still maybe a little low. So I feel like the low and medium are if you're for some reason using this for instruments or music or in a crazy loud setting. But the Rode has no physical buttons on the transmitter. The DJI and the Hollyland each have a power button and a noise cancellation button. Each system does also come with windscreens to help protect against wind noise or even heavy breath, and we'll test all that out later outside. And by later, I mean right now, and by outside, I mean inside with a fan to simulate the wind, because I cannot control the weather yet. Like I mentioned, each of these three microphone systems does come with a windscreen. The Hollyland comes with this fuzzy sea urchin looking thing. The DJI comes with two, the lighter and the heavier one. And then the Rode comes with this little case thing here. So we'll use the fan to simulate some wind and then see if these make a difference. Let's see here. Oh, it feels nice. It's kind of hot today, so this actually works out. So now I've got a decent breeze blowing on all three of these microphones. This is the Rode Wireless Micro with no windscreen. This is the DJI Mic Mini with no windscreen. And this is the Hollyland Lark M2 with no windscreen. And now this is the Hollyland Lark M2 with a ridiculous windscreen. This is the DJI Mic Mini with its smaller windscreen. And this is the Rode Wireless Micro with its windscreen. Worth noting, the DJI is the only one that I could put a windscreen on without taking off the microphone entirely. So the others I had to take them off and reposition them. The DJI I didn't. That's super convenient. So let's go back to the DJI and hear how it sounds with this level of wind protection. And now this is the DJI with its thicker windscreen. See if that makes a difference at all. I'm not honestly sure if it does make a difference. If it doesn't, then you just get double the windscreens. You just have, two for each transmitter instead of one. So if you lose one or break one, you got extras. The Hollyland, though, is completely ridiculous. And a thing I don't like about it, other than it being difficult to put on, is that once it's in there, you really don't know the orientation of the microphone. So I had to make sure that it was pointing up, but it can be very easy if you're in a rush or you're someone who's not experienced with these to accidentally position it facing the wrong direction, and then things might not sound as good. And now we can see how their noise cancellation compares with my lovely assistant here, the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. And again, this is loud and obnoxious, not unlike yours truly. And we will see, because two of these systems do have noise cancellation, which you can activate by just pressing a button on them, and the Rode does not. So this is the Rode Wireless Micro with no noise reduction, and there is no built-in noise reduction on this microphone. This is the DJI Mic Mini with noise reduction turned off. And this is the Hollyland Lark M2 with noise reduction turned off. Now this is the Hollyland Lark with noise reduction turned on, difference in sound. This is the DJI Mic Mini with noise reduction turned on. And this is the Rode Wireless Micro, the same, because there is no noise reduction I can turn on either physically on the transmitter or through software. So again, back to the DJI with noise reduction, back to the Hollyland with noise reduction, back to the Hollyland without noise reduction, and back to the DJI without noise reduction. And now I will reduce this noise right here. I do want to talk about noise reduction a little bit, because it seems like the Rode not having it might not be the road you want to go down if you need noise reduction. But generally speaking, even though I think the Hollyland and the DJI do a decent job, I Never use noise reduction on these microphones. It might just be my own workflow, my own preferences, but it doesn't matter if they have it because I will never use it. The reason I never use it is because putting noise reduction on your audio while you're recording like this is kind of like taking a photo that has a filter already applied to it. You can't undo the filter. It's much easier to take a regular photo and then apply filters later on, and you can always have your regular photo. If you just record your audio with the default audio, you can then use noise reduction in software a lot of the times. Most video editing software has some level of noise reduction, and then there are more advanced things like Adobe's enhanced speech and specialized AI tools and all this stuff that can really clean up your sound, I think, in a better way than the built-in noise reduction on the microphones. The noise reduction on the microphones, like right now, let's go to the DJI. I have no noise reduction turned on, and I'm gonna turn on noise reduction, even though there's no noise in here that really needs to be reduced. And what you probably notice, this is a pretty quiet, clean environment, but my audio has kind of like this garbly MP3 downloaded from Napster sound to it that is just not ideal, and there's really no way to fix that. So this is just how this audio is going to be because I've used noise reduction. Turning noise reduction back off, you can hear a lot more clarity in the sound. So the only time I would really say to use noise reduction is if you know for a fact you are absolutely not going to be editing the audio. Whatever you record as you're recording is exactly how it's going to be, and you got something really loud happening, then turn on noise reduction and it'll do its best. If you're in a quiet environment like this, never use noise reduction. And if you're doing something live where you're streaming or something with these microphones and there's sound over there, then you're not gonna have time to process your audio, so using the noise reduction could be a good use in that case. But for me personally, the way I use these microphones, I never use noise reduction. So all that to say, just kind of be aware of the pros and cons of it, and the fact that the Rode does not have noise reduction, to me, is not a con, because it's not a feature I'm gonna use anyway. But features I do use are the batteries in these things and the transmission distances. So I do wanna just kind of give you some info on the comparison between battery life and transmission. And then also, I just kind of forgot to mention this, I don't know if it's just the specific cable that came with my DJI wireless system, or it's this cable in general, but for this video, I'm running my DJI into the Zoom H1, and I actually tried this with a couple different recorders too. So this is how I'm recording the audio from the DJI. When I was using the DJI cable, I was getting this weird like interference electrical buzz thing, and I was really trying to troubleshoot. I was connecting it to all kinds of different stuff, and then I just grabbed a cable from one of my Sennheiser systems, a different 3.5mm cable, and that went away and the audio sounded really clean. So I don't know if this is just a defective cable or if that's something that happens with just the cable that comes with all of the DJI systems. It's just something I wanted to bring up just in case you're aware of it. If you're getting a weird interference kind of thing with your DJI and you're using the cable, maybe just try using a different cable and that could fix things. But going in then to battery life and range on these things, there's some pretty significant differences. They all have pretty good battery life because all three systems have charging cases. So what that means is when they're fully charged, the systems themselves work, right? Because you have your transmitters and your receivers are charged, but then the case itself has a built-in battery, so you can recharge the whole system at least usually a couple times with that to kind of increase the battery life. So on the Rode Wireless Micro, you can get 7 hours of continuous battery life from the transmitters, and then this can recharge them twice, so that gives you a total of 21 hours of battery life. The receiver does not need to be charged and does not take any battery power because it's just connected to your phone or your computer or whatever, and that device is powering the receiver. So this only needs to charge the transmitters and not the receiver. The DJI has 11.5 hours of battery life per transmitter, and the case can charge it 3 times. So that brings it up to about 48 hours of total battery life, which is, more than twice that of the Rode Wireless Micro. And then the Hollyland, the transmitters themselves have 10 hours of continuous battery life, so a little bit less than the DJI, but more than the Rode. And this case can recharge them 3 times, giving you a total of 48. So again, a little bit less than the DJI, but significantly more than the Rode. And then when it comes to range, it's sort of the same thing. DJI has the most range with 400 meters, which is about 1,300 feet. Hollyland has the second biggest range, transmission range, with 300 meters. That's about 984 feet. And the Rode has the smallest transition distance of only 100 meters, which is about 328 feet. But again, we need to look at what these things are intended for. I've talked about this before in other videos. This has a range of 400 meters. I don't think you ever need to be 400 meters away from the receiver. That you can be 1,300 feet away from the receiver, like you can't even see yourself on screen. You're not gonna be able to see your lips moving. It doesn't. There's really no need to do that for the most part, unless something is crazy specialized. And chances are, if you're doing something that specialized, you probably have access to a UHF system, or that's what you should be using anyway, not a 2.4 gigahertz system. So those huge ranges aren't really necessary. All of these do rely on direct line of sight. All of them are 2.4 gigahertz, so they can get interference from other systems, other devices, everything like my watch, my phone, Bluetooth stuff, everything can interfere and sort of mess with these potentially, although they're pretty good. I've used these in, crowded situations like NAB and conventions and stuff where there's signals going everywhere, and they've held up pretty well as long as you have direct line of sight. As soon as you go around a corner or put too many objects between you and the receiver, then you can start getting dropouts and interference and stuff. And so that, as I've said before in other videos, is what I think the long range is really for. It's not so that you can go 400 meters away, but it's so that if you're, 10, 15, 20 feet, a few meters around the receiver, probably as far as you'll ever really need to be, you can rely on it having a really strong signal. And that's going back then to the Rode, which only has a 100 meter range, 328 feet. That's still pretty far. If you remember that this is basically designed for mobile use because it's either Lightning or USB-C, if you're using this with a phone, again, what situation do you need to be more than 328 feet, 100 meters away from your phone? Probably not many. That's a very specific scenario. So even though this has significantly shorter range than the others, it's probably more range than you'll need. So now jumping into my different ranking categories, the first one is the what you get category. One of these systems comes with a lot of stuff, one of them comes with virtually nothing, and one is kind of in the middle. So it's probably no surprise that the Hollyland comes in first place in the what you get category because you get everything you can need for this microphone in this kit. You get not only the two transmitters and the charging case, but also, like I said, the USB-C, the lightning adapter, the camera adapter, the cables that you need. You get windscreens, which are a little goofy and they come in last place in terms of usability. You get little clips, magnetic clips. So if you want to, instead of magnetically putting this in the middle of your shirt or whatever, you just put this on the back of the transmitter and then you can clip it anywhere. You get necklaces. So if you want to just hang it around somebody's neck or hang it off an object and clip the transmitter to that, you can do that. You also get the sheets of stickers to make things more discreet or even less discreet and kind of more fun if you want with the Hollyland. And it all comes in a little carry pouch, which I didn't really like because there's so many different accessories, and when you put them all in the pouch, it's just sort of a bit of a mess. And so I bought this little $6 case off Amazon, which ends up being perfect for everything that the Hollyland comes with. The DJI Mic Mini comes in second place in the what you get category because you do get the charging case, the dual transmitters. It does come with a USB-C adapter for the receiver because you get also the receiver, of course. It does not come with a lightning adapter. So that's something you have to buy extra, or you can do what I did and just buy a really cheap USB to lightning adapter. And that works pretty well, even though it's not quite as slick. And then you get this little pouch as well. You get two different types of windscreens, a small windscreen and a more heavy duty windscreen. And you get the cables that you need to charge it and also run it into a camera. I mentioned this in the direct comparison I did between the Mic 2 and the Mic Mini, but I do prefer the pouch that you get with the Mic 2, which just has a little more structure to it and is kind of just easier to organize versus sort of the more baggy situation here. But this is also still super high quality, really nice, and still pretty compact. The Rode Wireless Micro comes in last place in the what you get category because you get this and a charging cable. And that is it. So for that category, it goes Hollyland, DJI, Rode for second, third place. Our next category is the build quality category, and that kind of flips things around with the Rode, I think, having the best build quality. So number one, if you just handed this to somebody, like they closed their eyes, they didn't know what it was, and you hand it to them, and they just kind of like opened it, felt it, I believe they would think that this is an Apple product, and I mean that in a good way. It has an Apple level of build quality and design to it. It's pretty clear that that was probably an inspiration for the design of the product to begin with, but it is everything from the charging case to the quality of the transmitters and even the super simple receiver feel very, very premium and very high quality and also very durable. So that's kind of everything you want from Rode. This is definitely the most premium feeling of the three systems. The DJI comes in second place. If you've used the Mic 2, you'll notice that the DJI's charging case is a little more flimsy and plasticky, but it's not bad. The receiver is a little more lightweight and plasticky, but it's not bad. The transmitters are actually quite nice. They feel very durable, and that makes sense. Those are the things that are going to be getting used and abused the most out of everything, and those do feel very high quality. But overall, it's not quite at the same level as like the Mic 2's build quality, and it's not quite at the same level overall as the Rode's build quality, but it's still really, really good. And in third place is the Hollyland, which again, this is the system I've used the most out of these three, and it has held up great. So it is not that the build quality is bad, but it's definitely the most plasticky, kind of the cheapest. You know, it's that thing, you get a lot for the system because you get all these accessories, but the cost of production then gets spread out between all of that. So I don't think it's a coincidence that the one that comes with the most stuff also has the lowest build quality, while the system that comes with the least amount of stuff has the highest build quality. So you can kind of see where sort of that, I don't know, cost of manufacturing goes in these different systems. But obviously we are talking about microphones, so sound quality is important. Normally in comparison videos like this, I don't like giving my opinion because I don't want my opinion to affect your opinion when it comes to the sound quality, because there's no right or wrong. Like I said at the beginning of this, I think all three of these are amazing. And so if you get any one of them, even if it's the worst sounding of the bunch, you're going to be happy with it, and you can also EQ it. I have done no EQ, no processing, no adjustment on the audio on any of these. This is just the raw audio, the radio from each system. So my ranking for sound quality could be different from yours, and that's totally fine. It also depends on what you're listening, headphones, stereo, phone speaker, broken drive-through speaker box for some reason somehow. Whatever you're listening to this on is also going to affect what you think sounds the best. I think that the Hollyland and the DJI sound remarkably similar, and I'm actually very impressed with how well the Hollyland does compared to the DJI because it's the least expensive and the most expensive system. It's also the oldest and the newest in terms of release and development and stuff. So to me, that is very, very impressive, although I will give an edge to the DJI. I think that it's just a little more balanced, a little more rich and full sounding. And if I had to choose the #1 sound quality of these three systems, I would give that first place award to DJI. I would put Hollyland in second place because it is very, very close to DJI, so you could almost flip those, but sometimes the Hollyland can be a little bit harsh or a little bit, it's not that it's clipping, but it almost sounds kind of like it's clipping, and so I would just kind of bump that down to second place, and I would actually put the Rode in third place, which I'm a little bummed about because when I was watching reviews and listening to reviews of this microphone, I thought that it sounded amazing. But when I got mine and I started just using it, again, I'm not trying to be as absolutely precise as possible. I'm trying to use these the way that most people use them. And when you look at the target audience for these products, it's not audio professionals who have worked on movie sets for decades. It's people who just want better audio quickly and cheaply. Like, it's someone who's gonna get this, they're gonna slap the receiver in their phone, stick the transmitter in the middle of their chest, and this is what they're gonna sound like. And I think that the Rode does sound great, but I was kind of surprised at how like airy it sounds. I wish that my voice were a little more isolated. I wish that it was a little more full and kind of had like, it almost seems like it picks up room tone a little too much. And that's why I was also surprised that Rode Central doesn't have any EQ options, at least currently. Maybe in a future firmware update, which would be awesome. But currently this is just how it sounds, unless you're planning to edit and EQ your audio after you've recorded. But if you're not planning to do that, or you're doing this with like a live stream or something where there is no editing involved, then this is the sound quality you're going to get, which I don't think is quite on par with the Hollyland and the DJI. But when it comes to just overall value, what's the one that I would recommend to somebody, especially again, keeping in mind, these are small, compact, simple systems designed to give you good audio as quickly and easily as possible. I have a hard time thinking that the Hollyland is not by far the best value. Not just because of the features and the accessories, but the MSRP. It is $30 less than the Rode with so much more functionality, and it is $50 less than the DJI with still more functionality because it comes with Lightning, not just USB, plus all the other tiny accessories and stuff. So the Hollyland is absolutely the best value, no doubt about it. The DJI would be second place and the Rode would be third place. But that also does kind of depend. So this is very subjective. The Rode, I know it sounds almost like I've been disappointed with it, but this system does have a really specific person in mind. If you're somebody who does a lot of recording with a phone, a tablet, or you just need a mic into your computer and you don't need any of that other stuff. You don't need all kinds of connectors. You don't need all kinds of adapters. You just get your USB-C or your Lightning version. You choose which version you want when you buy this, and then that's what you use. The simplicity of this, combined with the build quality and the durability and the reliability, that could make it the best choice, even though it's not the best overall value. But there's no point in buying the Hollyland if you're never gonna use the camera receiver, if you're never gonna use all the different clips and magnets and stuff. There's no point then not to just get this, which is simpler, high quality, does everything you need, and it's barely bigger than an AirPod case. So it really does depend on what you're going to use these systems for. The Rode is ideal for mobile use. The Hollyland and the DJI can be used for both. The Hollyland has an edge because it comes with an additional adapter, the Lightning adapter, which makes it a little bit more versatile. And also with the Hollyland, those USB adapters, both the USB and the Lightning, it has USB pass-through. So what that means is when you connect it to your phone or your tablet or your computer, you're not losing a port. You can still plug things in to like charge your phone while you're using it, instead of it totally taking up the port like the DJI does. If you're going to be using this mostly with the phone, the DJI's receiver is the biggest and the bulkiest and just not fun to use with the phone. The Rode and the Hollyland have mobile receivers that are very, very similar. I think the Hollyland is a little bit better because it does have some onboard controls and it also has that pass-through, but both of those are things that can very discreetly attach to your phone and not get in the way and not sort of feel like you're using sort of this bulky, wobbly, kind of kooky device. So I hope this helps you understand the differences between these microphones, both in terms of value and sound quality, and I would definitely love to hear what you think, which one sounds the best or the worst, and your different opinions on how you might use these, because I love that these make high quality audio so accessible, which means that more people are using them, which means that we're finding totally different workflows and totally different ways to use these. And to me, that is something that's really exciting and really fun. And speaking of things that are exciting and fun, thank you to everyone who helps support the channel through YouTube channel memberships. And if you want to know more about wireless mic systems, check out my Hollyland Lark specific review and my DJI Mic Mini versus Mic 2 review. All those different product names. I actually remembered them.